So with the midterm elections just over a week away, a CBS News Battleground Tracker shows Democrats could take control of the House.
218 seats. That's the number. That's the number needed to win. And the latest estimate shows Democrats could win 226 of those highly contested spots. But it is still extremely close with many key races to watch. So here with the latest polling and research is CBS News Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Good to see you, my friend.
Anthony,
How are you
you should come visit us here at the desk.
I know, where are you?
We'll take this,
I
but
have no idea where
next
he is.
time come here. All right.
All right, so what are the latest polls showing?
Guys. Sorry, go ahead, Vlad.
So what are the latest polls showing? What are you seeing? What are you tracking?
That estimate that you put up, the 226 House seats for Democrats, like you mentioned, that's just over the 218 line that they would need. And what that means is this thing is close. You know, maybe there's a slight edge to the Democrats there, but that 226 is not very far above the majority line. In fact, Vlad, we can take that model and we can run it with what we call a low turnout estimate. Let's suppose that all these folks who tell us in the polling that they're going to show up, however, they also tell us that they haven't showed up of late in other recent elections, haven't shown up maybe in the last midterm. Well, if we take those out of the equation, the Republicans hold on to the House. And so what that tells you is that the Democrats' chances are really dependent on turning out people who don't typically show up. Now, I know there's the old sort of pollster's hedge, well, it all comes down to turnout. But I want to be really specific about the way in which it does. Those people don't show up, and the Republicans, they hold on. And so that's the thing I want to emphasize going in. And I think we'll see that in the campaigns, too, how much each side is trying to motivate their base because this is an election about turnout and much less so about persuasion, guys.
So then which races are in play? Which races should we be watching very closely?
Well, I think there's about 60 House races. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's obviously, just maybe 15% of the House that will really decide this. The fun part on election night is going to be that they span coast to coast. We're going to be from northern New Jersey, maybe a couple in New York or New Hampshire, going across through the Midwest, one in Iowa, maybe a couple in Florida, and then we're going to get out to California. It wouldn't surprise me if we're late on election night wondering who will control the House. And then there's a bunch of suburban California House seats where we could be waiting on vote and seeing if it comes all down to them. The common thread across a lot of these is that they're suburban districts, maybe a little further out from the suburbs. They're places that have vacillated a little bit between voting for Republicans, maybe voted Democratic for president. And that's an indicator for pollsters where they look for people who might be on the fence. And one of the big splits, I think, in all of these places are people who say that the economy is good and yet don't like the direction of the country. That appears to be the kind of split that we see. It depends on which of those two things folks prioritize. If they prioritize the economy, that might favor the Republicans. If they favor being displeased about the direction of the country and politics in Washington, that probably favors the out party, the Democrats, guys.
Anthony, we got about 30 seconds, but let me ask you about this. Jonathan Swan over at Axios has a new report out that shows that President Trump has rarely visited counties or districts that Hillary Clinton won in 2016. What's the strategy there, strengthening that base, and could it work?
Marginally, the Democrats have an edge with people who have drifted away from their 2016 vote, as opposed to people who have taken, say, they voted for Clinton and are switching over to Republicans, and that's probably why. But they still need him to motivate the base in a lot of those Senate races that are taking place in states that voted for him heavily. Your Missouris, your North Dakotas, your Montanas, et cetera. So I suspect those are the places that he'll be going.
All right. Anthony Salvanto, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Well, CBSN will, of course, have full election coverage starting at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on November 6th. Plus, we will have coverage throughout the day as votes are cast and throughout the night, probably a really long night, as they're being counted right here on CBSN.
So